What's up guys, this is Siom and welcome to my corner. WrestleMania, the greatest stage of them all, where stars are born and legacies are cemented, the Christmas for wrestling fans, home to some of the greatest moments and matches in WWE history. Many of these events are considered legendary at this point, with WrestleMania 17 and 19, and even the latest WrestleMania 40 ranked amongst the greatest ever. But today I'm focusing on those that, for some reason, were not that good and are possibly the worst edition in the event's history. With no further ado, let's dive into the worst WrestleMania events of all time. First, let's start with WrestleMania 6, widely remembered for the historic Ultimate Challenge between Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, with both the Intercontinental and WWF Championships on the line. This was the match that established Warrior as perhaps the top star of his generation. Unfortunately, this is the only remarkable match on the card filled with forgettable encounters, mainly due to the lack of star power to properly fill the event. Many matches had little to no hype and, on top of that, lasted less than 5 minutes, such as Rick Martel vs Coco Beware, Earthquake vs Hercules, and the Barbarian vs Tito Santana, leaving no lasting impact. If I have to mention any other relevant moment, it will be Andre the Giant's face turn, as he abandoned Bobby Heenan and Haku after losing the tag team championships. WrestleMania 29 did not generate much excitement, primarily due to its main event, John Cena vs The Rock one more time. Just a year after, their first match was promoted as Once in a Lifetime. Unfortunately, the rest of the card did little to elevate the event. Alberto Del Rio vs Jack Swagger for the World Heavyweight Championship opened the show with a lackluster match that only further diminished the title's relevance. The Undertaker vs CM Punk was an enjoyable encounter, but it felt more like a consolation prize for Punk after being left out of the main event scene. This match, along with Brock Lesnar vs Triple H, were the only ones that generated any real hype, but the rest, nothing memorable. In defense of WrestleMania 32, it was said to be one of the greatest ever. However, WWE was hit with a wave of injuries in the months leading up to the event. Top superstars like John Cena, Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, Sting, Bray Wyatt, and Daniel Bryan were all sidelined, forcing WWE to adjust the card in ways that hurt the overall show. To fill the gaps, WWE relied on non-wrestlers like Shane McMahon and booked irrelevant matches such as the New Day vs the League of Nations in a meaningless 6-man tag match instead of putting the tag titles on the line. While there were some standout performances, like AJ Styles vs Chris Jericho in an entertaining match, other bouts, such as Dean Ambrose vs Brock Lesnar in a street fight, were major disappointments. Additionally, WWE wasted time with The Rock and John Cena humiliating the Wyatt family in an unnecessary match and segment. To top it off, the main event saw Roman Reigns win the WWE Championship for the third time in a predictable match against Triple H, closing out the show on a flat note. Just like WrestleMania 6, the 5th edition of the event is mainly remembered for its main event, this time being the clash between the Mega Powers, Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, with the WWF title on the line. While the match had a great storyline, it fell short in terms of in-ring action. Additionally, the predictable outcome with Hogan ending Randy Savage's momentum is another low point of this match. The rest of the extensive card does not feature any memorable matches, mainly due to the event's long duration. With 14 matches on the card, WWE had to fill it with many inconsequential bouts, such as Dino Bravo vs Ronnie Garvin, the Red Trucer vs Bobby Heenan, or Hercules vs King Haku, none of which lasted even 10 minutes. There were also 4 different tag matches, with little to no storyline build-up. WrestleMania 15 is remembered as a perfect reflection of Vince Russo's booking, filled with poorly executed matches that lack in ring quality and focus more on chaotic storytelling. Almost every match was overbooked and packed with interference, a signature of Russo's creative style. The event featured questionable performances, such as the totally unnecessary Brawl for All tournament finals, where Bart Gunn was quickly knocked out by the real boxer Butterbean, making the entire tournament feel pointless. It also showcased the poor state of the women's division during the Attitude Era, with a horrible match between Sable and Tori. Additionally, we witnessed one of the worst Hell in a Cell matches in history as The Undertaker vs the Big Boss Man delivered a forgettable and sluggish contest, one of the least memorable matches in the Deadman's legendary WrestleMania streak. Finally, the main event saw the first installment of the iconic Austin vs The Rock WrestleMania saga. While the match was decent, it wasn't enough to save the event from being one of the weakest WrestleManias ever. WrestleMania 9 is often regarded as one of the worst in history due to bad booking, underwhelming matches, and a baffling ending. The Undertaker vs Giant Gonzalez was slow and ended in a weak disqualification. Shawn Michaels vs Tatanka had a disappointing count-out finish, and forgettable matches like Doink vs Crush dragged the event down. The worst moment came in the main event after Yokozuna controversially defeated Bret Hart for the WWF Championship. Hulk Hogan swooped in, challenged Yokozuna, and won the title in seconds. This completely undermined Hart's rise and felt like a cheap way to put the belt back on Hogan, leaving fans frustrated. With weak matches and terrible booking, WrestleMania 9 remains as one of the most disappointing editions of all time. WrestleMania 4 suffered from an over-ambitious tournament format for the vacant WWF Championship, which ultimately hurt the pacing and the excitement for the event. With 16 matches on the card, many were short, uneventful and filled with countouts or disqualifications, making the entire show feel repetitive and exhausting for the audience. Instead of building anticipation, the tournament made it difficult for any single match to stand out. The much-hyped rematch between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant was disappointing, ending in a double disqualification that felt like a waste of time. Although Randy Savage's victory in the final against Ted DiBiase was a great moment, the long and tiring journey to get there took away from its impact. WrestleMania 27 is often regarded as one of the most disappointing WrestleManias due to its focus on spectacle rather than wrestling quality. The biggest issue was the main event between John Cena and The Miz, which felt more like a setup for The Rock's interference rather than a meaningful title match. The match itself was a lackluster. At the ending, with The Rock attacking Cena and allowing The Miz to retain, left fans unsatisfied. Other booking decisions made the event feel off balance, like the inclusion of Jerry Lawler vs Michael Cole, which dragged on far too long and wasted valuable time on a match between a veteran announcer and a non-wrestler. The Sheamus vs Daniel Bryan match, which could have been delivered as a solid contest, was instead relegated to the pre-show, frustrating fans. Despite a strong Undertaker vs Triple H match that helped elevate the night, the rest of the card felt like a collection of forgettable bouts. This event ultimately felt more like a corporate production promoting The Rock's eventual return rather than a true WrestleMania spectacle. WrestleMania 11 is widely regarded as one of the weakest events in the history of the show. The biggest issue was the lack of true star power, as WWF heavily relied on celebrity involvement to draw attention. This was most evident in the main event, where football star Lawrence Taylor faced Bam Bam Bigelow. While Taylor's performance was respectable for a non-wrestler, the idea of a celebrity headlining the biggest show of the year over actual wrestling stars was a sign of WWF struggles at the time. The Diesel vs Shawn Michaels WWF Championship match, which should have been the true main event, was solid but lacked the emotional weight and intensity that Shawn Michaels would later bring to future WrestleManias. Meanwhile, The Undertaker vs King Kong Bundy was a slow and forgettable match that added nothing to the dead man's growing legacy. Overall, the event felt like a standard pay-per-view rather than a grand WrestleMania, with no major iconic moments to make it stand out in history. WrestleMania 2 is remembered for its confusing and poorly executed format, as WWF attempted to host the event from 3 different locations: New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. While the idea of expanding WrestleMania's reach sounded innovative, in practice it led to a disjointed and awkwardly paced show. Each location had its own set of matches, but none of them truly stood out, and the constant switching between venues made it difficult for the audience to stay invested. The card itself was underwhelming, featuring multiple forgettable matches and bizarre celebrity involvement, such as Mr. T boxing Roddy Piper in a slow and dull fight that failed to capture the excitement of their previous WrestleMania match. The steel cage main event between Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy had some entertainment value, but it wasn't enough to salvage the event that felt more like an experiment than a true WrestleMania experience. And that will be all for today's topic. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more wrestling content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.